Hi, you car model nuts. Welcome back to Diecast Culture. And I say car model nuts because if you're watching this, you probably are one or you will soon become one. I really enjoy collecting scale models, and you probably know by now that my scale preference is 1 to 64. And you probably know by now that I'm a car model nut too. Each of these boxes contain a ton of 1/64 scale diecast, and we have a few on display on the wall here with some boxes beneath, and a couple more displays there, and below the table we have some more boxes. We're going to take a look at what's on the table here, starting with the Ocado van, which is made by Corgi. It is 1 to 64 scale, and if you see it next to a Hot Wheels Porsche, you can see that it is. It's a gem of a model with rubber tyres, detailed black interior, door mirrors, and all metal body. When I say that, it's not just the cab, but the cargo area as well. Black plastic base, and these side skirts are plastic, but the metal starts from here upwards. And if that wasn't enough, we have opening rear doors showing details of the food totes. It's got an Ocado number plate. Really very pleased with this. It's available through Ocado or also on eBay. And there's a range of colours, total of 10 collectibles in different colours. This particular one is Percy Pig. And just so that you can see that it is 1/64 scale, I've also placed it next to some other vans. The Michelin one is made by Green Light. That's a Ford Transit long wheelbase high roof. We've got another Corgi product, an older Ford Transit minibus. Green Light white Ford Transit panel van, again long wheelbase high roof. And then we've got the Ram, as it's known in the States, and in the UK it is known as a Citroen Relay, Peugeot Boxer, and also Fiat Ducato. And I'll just show you the packaging. So it's a Mercedes-Benz licensed product. Next is the 1980 Chevy El Camino by Hot Wheels. This is a particularly nice casting. It's generous dimensions, so they've got the 1/64 scale correct in my opinion. Very nice wheels with some good detail. Black plastic interior. Black bed. They've also got the rear wall of the bed below the window glass in metal. Hot Wheels don't always do that, so it's nice to see it. And some detailed tail lights, exhausts below them. The front's a bit plain, but then I don't think the real car had that much elaborate detail. Here we have the Super Silhouette Nissan Skyline with Liberty Walk graphics in gold. Very nice product, and there is some writing on the windscreen shield. I assume that's writing of sorts, possibly meaning Liberty Walk, I don't know. Just a very nice main line. Next is this Audi RS Etron GT. As a Hot Wheels model, it is certainly not one of my favourites. It's got a very toy-like look. In my opinion, I think I've improved the way it looks with some black marker pen, so I've framed the windows with a weather shield, so to speak. There is already some nice detail to the rear license plate and tail lights. But if you see the unadorned version, pre-marker pen, you'd probably agree with me, it doesn't carry off that well. Nonetheless, it's a cool car, and that's why I got it. Here is a Dodge Rampage, and towing a MBX cycle trailer, or bike trailer. Very cool 1980s, I guess, car-based pickup truck. I got a marker pen to black out the lights because I didn't have a silver one, and the vents beneath adds a bit of detail. I also blacked out the wheels except for the rims. Just thought it looked a bit better. In the back there is a dirt trike. Is that what they call them? Hope I've got that right. Nice 70s orange accents there. And the bike trailer is pulling. A really decent offering from Matchbox. A lot of detail on this trailer. It's also a decent size. Got some sheriff graphics there. And I think I've shown this in a previous video, so pardon me if you've already watched it. But what caught my eye is the detail of this bike, which is really good. And at some stage I do mean to get some paints and weathering to this bike to make it look realistic. Here we have some vintage Matchbox Garage pack number 3, and also a Fiat 1500 by Matchbox Lesney. These are probably, the garage is probably dated back to the 1960s, as is the Fiat 1500 or thereabouts. Scale of this Fiat is most probably 1/64. It's more or less the only model car in this scale that will fit into the garage. Many garages in the UK, when they were built in the 50s and 60s, were not of a generous design. They were simply just wide enough to get your small family car into and be able to squeeze out the side. Probably end up scratching the car as you get it in. But yeah, I saw this in a vintage store for around about £3.50, and I thought, yeah, that's pretty cool. Got some nice detail on this Fiat. The paint on models of this era was a lot thinner than it is today, which is not a good thing with regards to its longevity. The paint obviously chipped quite easily, but it did afford quite a high level of detail with very fine panel lines. So we're still on the subject of vintage diecast. Here are 3 lovely examples made by Siku. These were all made in West Germany at the time, as it was known, back in the 1980s, mid-80s. And we've got a really cool VW bus, as it's described, although it is really a pickup van with crew cab. And scale on this is probably about 1/55. It's slightly larger than it should be if you're collecting 1/64. Lovely paintwork. The suspension on this corner seems to have dropped for some reason, so at some point I might take it apart and see why that's happening. Otherwise, a very nice model, picked up from eBay for not a lot. Nice condition. In the background we have a very unusual supercar of the day. This is a Maserati Boomerang. Really quite unusual to use the term boomerang for a supercar. Sounds a bit struggling to find the right word, but there you go. This is a really lovely model. I love the electric blue colour with the contrasting red interior. There are a few other Sikus of this era which has the same paintwork and the same interior with the yellow glass, and yeah, I just think it looks fantastic. Yes, it's toy-like, but what a lovely toy to have. Got detailed exhausts, detailed engine. I've checked other images of this model on the internet, and none of them have a closing rear hatch, so it's as the car was, with no rear hatch closing panel. If you were to compare with how the model looked in real life, this particular Siku, the proportions aren't quite there. So this Siku is more voluminous than it should be. So the body is too high. The dimensions are too great from the sill to the roof. So the real car would have looked even sleeker than this particular one. And then the other thing is that it sits very high on the ground, off the ground, so it's more like a four-wheel drive looking stance for a supercar. The real car sat low to the ground. Okay, you might have seen a video short of mine showing this Siku Range Rover. Another lovely example. You can pick up some really nice models on eBay. If you wanted any advice, I would say don't rush. You can, if you've got time in your hands, you will come across what you want for quite a reasonable price. It's worth just waiting, and you know, the same product can be advertised on eBay for quite a wide price range, so it's worth checking out to see if you can get a little bit less. Black interior with opening doors. They've skimped a little bit on the dashboard, which doesn't go across the full width of the car. Why that is, I don't know. It's not as if it clashes with the closing mechanism. Love the tinted glass on this, sort of bronze, mild tint. Got a metal hitch. And again, scale-wise on this, it's about 1/55, I would say, as was the Maserati Boomerang. So to ensure that this video doesn't go on for too long, I'm going to do a separate video showing this Porsche hauler with a comparison with the Hot Wheels version, non-licensed version. And I'll also do a separate one on this vintage car transporter, and then a further separate video on my collection of rally cars, mostly Hot Wheels mainline.